Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at something pretty cool, something that I think a lot of our listeners would be really into.
Yeah, this is a good one.
We're talking about turning your phone,
Into a science lab.
yeah, a science lab.
It's amazing.
So where did you even find this?
So this is a project from Singapore, from educators over there. They've put together this amazing resource that shows you how to turn your phone into, well, we'll get into it, but multiple different scientific instruments.
Okay.
And it's all on a website called Open Educational Resources, Open Source Physics at Singapore.
Okay, cool. So
Yeah.
Singapore, a project for educators, and we're talking about turning our phones into science instruments.
Yep.
Okay.
Uh,
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So they give you instructions and resources to build, get this, a light spectrometer,
Okay.
a sound analyzer, and even, get this, a Geiger counter.
Wait, hold on. A Geiger counter, like the thing that detects radiation.
Yes, the thing that detects radiation on your phone.
That's
Yeah, it's pretty wild, right? It's amazing what you can do with some ingenuity and some stuff you probably have lying around the house.
I am officially fascinated.
Yeah.
Let's break this down. Let's start with the light spectrometer. Um, what does a light spectrometer do?
Okay, so think about it this way. Every light source has its own unique fingerprint, right? It's made up of different colors.
Okay.
A light spectrometer breaks down that light
Uh-huh.
and reveals its hidden fingerprint, kind of like how a prism creates a rainbow.
Oh.
And this fingerprint can actually tell us what the light source is made of.
So, like, if I pointed it at a light bulb, I could see what kind of gas is inside.
Exactly. And it's not just light bulbs. Imagine pointing it at a star and being able to see what it's made of.
Whoa, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So how does this even work, like practically?
So they guide you through attaching something called a diffraction grating to your phone's camera.
Okay.
It's basically a piece of material with really, really tiny lines etched onto it, and these lines diffract the light and separate it out into all those colors, into its spectrum. Then you calibrate it, and this is clever, you calibrate it using a fluorescent lamp, like a normal one you probably have in your house.
Oh, that's cool.
I know, right?
Yeah, that is very clever.
Super ingenious, and then boom, you've got your own little mini lab right there in your pocket.
Okay, so fluorescent light for calibration. What kind of light sources can we analyze with this then?
Well, they recommend things like discharge lamps, but you can really experiment with anything that emits light.
Uh-huh.
The software analyzes the light passing through the diffraction grating,
Okay.
and then it can actually identify the gases present based on the unique color pattern it creates.
So, like, if I pointed it at, I don't know, like a neon sign, I could figure out what gases are making it glow.
You got it.
That's so cool.
I know, it's really cool.
That's like a detective tool for light.
Yeah, exactly. They've taken something that might seem really complex and made it totally accessible and fun for anybody to try.
Okay. All right, next instrument, sound analyzer. What can we uncover with that?
Well, think of it this way. It's like giving your ears superpowers.
Okay.
You're going to be able to visualize sound waves, so you can actually see the frequencies and patterns that make up different sounds.
So I could like literally see the difference between like my cat meowing and like a car horn blaring.
That's a great example, yeah. You could even see how musical notes look.
Oh, wow.
You can see how the science behind the sound, it really helps you understand it better.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
This Geiger counter, I'm still a little confused about this. So we can detect radiation with our phones. How is that possible?
It does sound a little crazy, right? But they have these step-by-step instructions on how to build a Geiger counter attachment for your phone.
Okay, and remind me, what does a Geiger counter do again?
So it detects ionizing radiation. That's the type of radiation that can change atoms.
Okay.
You know, like what we're careful about with things like X-rays.
Right, right.
So this lets you actually detect this type of radiation just in your everyday environment.
And they even, like, suggest a specific Geiger counter sensor that you can buy online.
They do, yeah.
Oh, wow. This is crazy. I'm mind blown. I always thought that you had to have some fancy lab equipment to explore all this scientific stuff.
I think a lot of people think that.
But this project is really showing that it can be so much more accessible than that.
It really is.
And there's more, right? I saw on the website that there's something about a polarization analyzer as well.
You're right. They've even got a link to instructions for building one of those, too.
Oh, wow. So that's 4 instruments?
4 instruments, yeah.
That's amazing.
All using your phone.
All with your phone. They really packed a lot into this project. What really stands out to you about this so far?
Well, I think one of the coolest things is just how they've combined accessibility with some really genuine scientific exploration. It's not just about like playing around with your phone. You're actually understanding the principles behind these instruments and then using them to explore the world around you.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's not just like a gimmick. It's really about learning and exploring.
Exactly.
This deep dive is giving me so many ideas already, and I bet it's doing the same for our listeners.
I hope so.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, I think we should really dig into each of these instruments and explore what they can really do.
Great idea. Why don't we go back to that light spectrometer and see what secrets we can unlock?
Let's do it. Okay, so where were we?
We were talking about the light spectrometer and how it lets us analyze light from different sources.
Right, like how we could figure out what a star is made of.
Exactly. And the cool thing is, each element, when it gets heated up, it gives off light at very specific wavelengths. It's like its own unique signature, you know?
So like each element has its own light show.
Haha, yeah, you could think of it that way. And when that light passes through the spectrometer, it gets separated out, creating a pattern of bright lines.
Okay.
And that's called a spectrum, and that spectrum is unique to that element.
So like fingerprints, but for light.
Yes, you got it. And the software in this project, it actually has a database of all those fingerprints.
Oh, wow.
For all these different gases.
So like when I analyze a light source, it's comparing what it sees to the database and telling me what gas is creating that light.
Exactly. Like I said, it's a detective tool for light.
That's so cool.
It really is.
What kind of things could I investigate with this?
I mean, the possibilities are pretty much endless. Street lamps, neon signs, fireworks. You could even try figuring out what kind of gases are burning in your fireplace.
Oh, you know what? When I was a kid, I loved fireworks shows.
Oh, yeah.
They were like magical, you know.
Totally.
But if I had this spectrometer back then, I could have figured out what elements were making those colors.
Yeah, you could have seen the science behind the magic.
Exactly.
Huh.
Speaking of magic, how about that sound analyzer?
Haha. All right, let's talk sound. What sonic mysteries are you hoping to solve?
Well, remember you said it's like giving our ears superpowers.
Yeah.
So could I actually see why my dog hates the vacuum cleaner so much?
You absolutely could. Because the sound analyzer lets us see sound waves, we can see the frequencies and patterns that make up those sounds, which we can't normally do with our ears. So you would literally see how the sound waves from a vacuum cleaner are different from your voice.
Yeah.
Or from calming music.
And that would explain why some sounds are like more jarring or unpleasant.
Exactly. Or why your dog hates the vacuum.
That's so cool.
It is pretty cool.
Before we move on to that Geiger counter, I wanted to go back to something you said earlier
Oh, yeah. What's that?
about how this project really encourages hands-on learning.
Yeah.
That really resonates with me
I think it's true for a lot of people.
because there's a difference between like just reading about something
Right.
and actually building it and experimenting with it.
A huge difference.
It's so much more engaging.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I remember learning about all these scientific instruments in textbooks,
Uh-huh.
but it was so abstract, you know?
Yeah.
This project takes all that and makes it tangible.
You get to experience it firsthand, right?
Exactly. It makes all the difference in the world. Okay, I'm ready for the Geiger counter now.
All right. Let's talk radiation.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that we can detect radiation with a phone.
I know, it's pretty wild.
You said it detects ionizing radiation. Can you remind me what that is again?
Of course. So ionizing radiation is the kind that can actually change atoms.
Oh, okay.
It's the stuff that we have to be careful about with X-rays and stuff like that.
Right.
So the Geiger counter lets you detect that kind of radiation all around you.
So is all radiation dangerous then? Would I be able to tell if it was safe or not?
That's a good question. And the thing is, we're actually exposed to low levels of radiation all the time, just naturally.
Really?
Yeah, from things like the sun,
Oh, okay.
rocks and soil, even some foods.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, it's everywhere. So this Geiger counter can help you understand those levels in different places and situations.
It's like this project is making us more aware of all this science that's happening all around us.
I think so, yeah.
You know, it's really exciting to think that our phones, which we use for everything these days,
I know, right?
can also be these powerful tools for scientific exploration.
It's pretty amazing what we can do with them.
It really is. And this is only the beginning.
Who knows what we'll be able to do in the future?
Exactly. What other kind of amazing tools will we have?
Now, before we get too ahead of ourselves and start dreaming about the future.
Yeah. You were saying something about the future.
Oh, right. Well, I was thinking about how this project, it's not just about these specific instruments.
Right.
It's really about how we think about science education as a whole.
That's a really good point.
Yeah,
This makes it so much more approachable,
for sure.
especially compared to, like, the way we learned from textbooks back in the day.
Oh, yeah, totally. Can you imagine if classrooms were using this?
That would be amazing.
Students building these things, and doing experiments, all using their phones.
It would make it so much more engaging.
It would bring science to life.
It would be so cool. It's like we'd all become, like, citizen scientists.
Exactly. It makes you think. What if you could explore any scientific phenomenon?
Okay.
With a tool like this on your phone, what would you choose?
That's a good question. There's so much out there. I've always been fascinated by space.
Me too.
Imagine if you could use your phone to, like, analyze starlight or track the planets.
Whoa, that would be incredible. Like having an observatory in your pocket.
Right. Or what about something to help us understand the weather?
Oh yeah, like a weather station.
Yeah. Track temperature, humidity, all that.
Maybe even predict storms.
Ooh, that would be cool.
The possibilities are endless, really.
They are. It's amazing.
This project has really gotten my imagination going. I hope it's done the same for our listeners.
Oh, I'm sure it has.
Speaking of our listeners, we should probably tell them where they can find all this.
Yes, definitely.
It's all on that website, remember? Open educational resources, open source physics at Singapore.
I'll make sure to put the link in the show notes for everyone.
It's got everything you need. Instructions, videos, even places to buy the materials.
All right there at your fingertips.
Amazing.
This has been such a cool deep dive.
It has.
It really shows that science is all around us.
Yeah.
Just waiting to be explored.
And the tools are out there.
Yeah, we don't always need fancy equipment or labs.
Sometimes all you need is your phone and a little curiosity.
That's a great way to put it. Well, that about wraps it up for this deep dive.
Yeah, this was a good one.
To all our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep experimenting, and never stop learning.
Who knows what you might discover?
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.